So welcome back, everybody. My name is Dreadful Rick, and I'm here to do another heavy metallurgy review. Before I begin, so I'm getting ready to have some dinner, and coincidentally, this kind of reminded me of a certain kind of habit I like to have, and some of us may have, and that is going back to some of our comfort foods, the kind of foods that we like, that we know will not disappoint us. And for me, it's tacos. Throw a little sauce on there. I'm gonna have some apple soda, and I know it's going to be delicious. I feel like it's that way with music. Some of us will go back to certain kinds of styles of bands, certain kind of genres, which is our reliable go-to. And so I will be reviewing the latest album from Deathgrave, which is I guess you could say it's a grind, more of a death grind kind of band with a very sludgy element, out of San Jose, I believe, California. And they play a particular kind of style that I find puts me right in that zone. See, the thing about grind is there's several tiers of it and variations of styles. And I don't like all kinds of grind. I'm a little picky when it comes to a certain one that I like to gravitate towards. So back in 2018, when I picked up this one, So Real It's Now, I mean, the cover right away struck me. I was very curious. And this kind of harkened back in the day when I got into bands like Soylent Green, which is still one of my favorite grind bands of all time, out of New Orleans. And this had a lot of familiarity, a lot of elements that kind of reminded me of that band. The band's no longer active, so now you have bands like Deathgrave. So on April 14th, they dropped their latest one. So they took I guess what you call a 5-year break between their debut at 2018 and now with this one. It's Only Midnight. And so with the first album, I wasn't sure if this was going to be their sound. You can never tell on these debuts if it's going to be their sound, what trajectory they're going to be going until several albums in, right? But here, on album number 2, I felt like, I think they hit it out of the park the first time. And these are musicians who are pretty much very proficient and know what they're doing and really understand and know what this style is about. And with this release, I gotta say, it doesn't steer too far from the first album. If you liked So Real It's Now, you're going to love this one. It's Only Midnight. So this is an album I would recommend to fans of death grind who like the stuff in the school of Exhumed. If you love Exhumed, this is not too far for something kind of like that. But it also has elements that remind me of early Napalm Death. And I'm thinking of other bands, kind of like Carcass, kind of in that school, early Carcass. So this is a band that is headed and mixed by the great talent of Greg Wilkinson, right here. And that's him right there, who runs and operates Earhammer Studios. And he's a guy who's been a long time the go-to guy around, I know, definitely around that region, to mix their stuff, bands who gravitate towards him for their material. So you probably own an album, or probably quite a few, that's been touched by the hands, the crafty mixing hands of Greg Wilkinson, who was now the bass player for Autopsy. So see how it all starting to come together? So this will sound very familiar to you. And this is the kind of comfort food type of grind that I like right here. It's very well balanced. It's got some groove pockets. It's got some nice juddering moments. But it doesn't go to a kind of direction where it starts to get jarring and doesn't make sense. It tries to keep your head going and knows when to take breaks and when to get into those groove pockets and when to come back and hammer you in the head with some of this. So between this and their last album, you can tell there's a theme going on here. There's a bit of this. It's a little campy, but also has that element of that nightmarish element to it. So as I said earlier about whether this is going to be their sound, at the same time, while there's a lot of familiarity, they're not really what you call reinventing the wheel when it comes to this kind of stuff. There are plenty of other bands who kind of play in this kind of theme. This is just one of the bands that's just doing it really, really well. And so as I was listening to this, it opened up quite, without any sort of subtlety. It knows what it is. So, and that would be the first song, Ant Baby. On all fours, second track. And by the time it hit Tony's Deli, that's where it really hit me, where it's, they have a certain approach to a technique, I guess what you could say, to their sound. And that is that there's something that they do that a lot of other bands I don't hear do it too often. And they have a certain trick. See? So it's not all too, very adjacent to some other bands a little too much. And what I'm talking about is something that they garnish it with, a certain kind of sound. And I don't know what to call it. So I'm just going to give it a name. The ominous siren. There's a certain kind of horn or something that has a feel of dread that they add to that. And I hear it on Tony's Deli very strongly. And the Rats Are Back. Slurring Sermons. Slurring Sermons has some of the most vicious vocals on the album. I love it. And they do go through that high screeching kind of sound and the very low guttural stuff, which is cool. So they do mix it up. So there's plenty to kind of take away from here. It doesn't all stick to one particular thing. I just find that despite all that stuff going on, it's still very well balanced, very well mixed by an experienced guy in the studio, and who happens to also be a band member along with this. So this has all the ingredients checked off of the stuff that I love about comfort food, like tacos. Hungry yet? So amazing. Lonely Streets, Atomic Narcotic Withdrawal, last track. So you've got that alarm clock font going on. So this is a band does not want you to sleep well. Like their last album. Peace, what's that? We don't need it. Happy Nightmares. So Deathgrave, definitely recommended. Definitely loved every minute of this album. I love the way everything is spread out. Although I gotta say, if I had to pick a side, the songs just get better and better. Side B is the strongest side. Now, if you're getting a CD, side B is kind of irrelevant, right? So I would say in the second half of the album or the further tracks. But it's all good. So I can kind of move to anything here, and it will get my head moving. It'll give me that stank face just when I need it. So yeah. So It's Only Midnight. Check it out. This was put up by Tank Crimes. If you know Tank Crimes, you know. Good stuff. So that is my review. Definitely check them out. And again, they're not breaking any new ground, but they have that special trick, the ominous siren. I'm hoping that gets viral and takes off, and people can start using that terminology to describe this thing. You will see what I'm talking about. So, catch you all on the next one. I'm